Welcome, everyone, to Beauty and the Surgeon podcast. I'm Amy. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I'm joined today, as always, by my very spooky co-host.
I'm very spooky.
I've used it before, but it works because we're talking about the dark side of plastic surgery today. Dr. Jason Martin, he's a board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon.
Very spooky and very board-certified.
Dr. Martin, how you doing?
I'm good. They can't see Nils. Nils is in a full Halloween outfit. He's dressed up as a shark.
It's only the 15th.
Yeah.
Although with you guys, you probably would start dressing up at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you know what you're going to be for Halloween?
Not yet. It's still being decided. So I got one gala to go to this weekend, and then after that, I'm going for Halloween planning.
Oh, it's not a Halloween gala.
No. It's
okay. Unrelated
very
gala.
fancy.
You just wanted to throw out there that you're a very
I go to
important
galas.
person.
I go to galas.
Gala. Do you have many leather-bound books?
Yeah, I do.
Do you run Burgundy?
I do.
Does your home smell of rich mahogany?
Yes, it does. And I wear robes.
Yes. Well,
silk robes, by the way.
We've gotten into Ron Burgundy again, which is where I tend to go in this podcast.
That's all you go to is 90s or Ron Burgundy, or 80s, 90s Ron Burgundy.
We are happy that everybody's here joining us. If you'd like to watch the slides and watch us that go along with this, if you happen to just be listening to us, you can find us on YouTube at Jason Martin MD. And we're on all social media at Beauty and the Surgeon Podcast and at Jason Martin MD.
Yep.
So we have a great topic today. And this one came up. It is spooky month, but that is actually not what got me thinking about the dark side of plastic surgery. It's kind of like a buzzy thing right now. We're like, ooh, the dark side of this, the dark side of that. Like, oh, yeah. But it's true. And I think that, unfortunately, plastic surgery gets a lot of good PR and a lot of bad PR. And the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And it gets, a lot of bad PR that is not really due, and then a lot of good buzz that is also maybe not realistic or real.
There's a lot of fluff and there's a lot of reality there that gets, kind of perversely pushed.
Yeah. But I got 2 emails recently from listeners of the podcast that really both took me down that, wow, you see those things in society right now, especially involving plastic surgery, that really made me think that this would be a great topic to talk about. So while we will be talking about, some of the dark sides of plastic surgery, I hope that people still listen who are maybe interested in listening about a specific topic. It's not a negative thing at all. Like this is not a negative.
A little bit of a Yoda feel to it, like when he talks about the dark side.
Yeah. So it's more about just looking at, like the bad PR maybe that plastic surgery gets, that we're not going to be like talking about Bosch, not flashing up pictures of, of celebrities and talking about what bad plastic surgery they've had. It's not like
Which
that.
Which is like everything on YouTube about plastic surgery. It's either botched or what a celebrity's doing.
Yeah.
Which is fine and it's entertaining, but that's not really helpful for patients who are considering plastic surgery.
No, not helpful at all. So,
which, by the way, everyone asks me, do you watch Botched? And the answer is, I don't.
No, it's like being at work on a bed.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Whatever your job is, you're going to watch a show that exemplifies all the bad part of your job?
Seriously,
no.
I think about that with that show, the baggage handler one, or the TSA one. I'm like, my goodness, those people are like they have. Yeah. So let's talk about what are, in my mind, the dark sides of plastic surgery. They kind of fall into 3 categories: ethics, expectations, and self-perception and social influence. So we're going to talk about these 3 things specifically as they relate to plastic surgery. And this is really where, these dark sides of plastic surgery are. Ethics is a challenging one that we talk about a lot on this podcast, especially regarding board certification. And that's what brings us to our first email. This lovely email from a patient. I'm going to paraphrase it just to kind of give us an idea, and we can discuss it further. She said, I had surgery by a doctor who advertises himself as board certified. Later, I went on to plasticsurgery.org to verify. He wasn't on there, and I freaked out, thinking, how could I have been so dumb to go to someone who actually wasn't board certified? After contacting their office, they informed me my doctor is rather board certified through the American Osteopathic Board of Surgery, Plastic and Reconstructive. I thought plastic surgeons can only get certified through the American Board of Plastic Surgery, but I guess not. So she was asking if there was a difference between whether a plastic surgeon is board certified by the American Board of Plastic Surgery versus the American Osteopathic Association Board of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. This was a great question. And this, when I responded to her, I did bring up, how some doctors will even advertise themselves as the very fancy sounding double board certified. And then they're double board certified in obstetrics and something else, family medicine. this is why we talk about this so often. And I did also tell her that, any physician of any type of qualification, even the most well-regarded board-certified plastic surgeon, can have undesirable outcomes or things that don't go the way they expect. So it doesn't mean that the doctor she went to or that this osteopathic board of plastic and reconstructive surgery is not training their doctors or making sure that they have, met certain standards. However, it is different than what happens when you are board certified by the American Board of Plastic Surgery.
Right.
Mostly based on the oversight that board has.
Yes.
So that board is not self-funded. It's not plastic surgeons doing it themselves. It is literally has oversight by, we talked about this, the American Board of Specialties, which oversees many surgical specialties. So
I think they're overseen by the United Nations.
Well, let's hope not.
That's what it feels like.
But the American Osteopathic Association, which DOs are wonderful doctors.
Great doctors.
They're basically doing this themselves. They do have great standards and other things. We are not well versed in what those are, but that is the main difference between their board and our board. And a lot of the other boards, I say this in many of our episodes as a reminder to patients that
if it has cosmetic in it.
Is not.
See, I listen to what Amy says.
Yes. There is no type of certification that has the word or cosmetic surgery in it that is oversight by the American Board of Surgical Specialties. Does not exist. And same thing here. So, Dr. Martin, what's your thought on how doctors represent themselves, specifically regarding ethics around marketing themselves as a plastic surgeon?
Yeah. So this is a very problematic area, and this is definitely one of the dark sides of plastic surgery. Number one, people refer to themselves as plastic surgeons, and they're not. They're ENT surgeons, they're ophthalmologists, they're OMF surgeons, oral maxillofacial surgeons, they're
might just be a
general surgeons and internists, and they refer to themselves as plastic surgeons. They can refer to themselves as whatever they want because there is no libel board going out there saying, well, you're not this, or this is not correct, or I guess it wouldn't be libel, whatever the other word is. But so that's first and foremost. So then you can go to board certification, but there's a lot of different certifying boards, and that gets confusing. And so a lot of this stuff is meant to diffuse or deflect what is really going on out there, that people are actually doing procedures and surgeries, and they're not really well trained to do those. So, and why are they doing that? Money. This all comes down to money and to growing whatever businesses they have. You can go to people that aren't well trained that end up doing a good treatment or surgery on you, and that definitely happens, but the odds are that you're probably not going to have a great outcome. If you go to someone who's board certified, who's a plastic surgeon, well trained and experienced, the odds are you're going to have a good outcome, and that's the truth. But ethics themselves are a difficult discussion. I mean, as we know with literally our culture and our life in our country, that ethics are a real problem right now, and honesty in what you are and what you're doing. At the very least, a board requires you to be ethical. If you're not ethical, they can make you not board certified. If someone reports you for an unethical behavior, they can take away your board certification. That is really serious, and it overlies everything that we do that's above and beyond just doing right by the patient. I mean, like Amy and I are having discussions at my level of being successful, like, is this appropriate? The way we want to advertise something or put something on one of our social media channels, right? And just like every business, there's a whole different array. I always go to lawyers. Like, there's some lawyers that fight the good fight, and there's some lawyers that I saw a lawyer billboard of Colorado that was for injury law. Mm-hmm. And the guy was dressed up in like a super nice outfit, and he was like, injury lawyer with bling. Like literally his whole thing was, his brand was that he dresses really nice and does your injury law stuff too. And I was like, oh my God, this is what America has gotten to. Okay. So, and the same exists in plastic surgery. Also, just real quick on the board certification, people talk about being double or triple board certified. And some of that stuff can be really interesting. You can be board certified in ENT and plastics, and that is actually pretty amazing that you did all that training. Mm-hmm. How is that helpful if you're doing a tummy tuck or a breast aug? Do you think ear, nose, and throat surgeons are taught that? Does that have any help to you at all? If you're double board certified and it's plastic surgery and general surgery, I did general surgery and finished it, but I chose not to be board certified and went on to plastic surgery. Being board certified in general surgery offers you nothing. A lot of these are not tricks. What's coercions? Well,
they're not.
Yeah, they're
not coercions. They are kind of tricks in a way. That's why I brought up being double board certified in obstetrics and, something else. Like you can be board certified in family medicine.
Right.
So it is a trickery. It is trickery.
Yeah, it's trickery. And so how do you get around this in real life? It doesn't have to be plastic surgery. How do you get around this? Education, empowerment, doing your homework, asking questions. If something doesn't seem right, just like this patient did, God bless you. Call them up. Explain to me. Why is this person not on the American Board of Plastic Surgeons?
But saying they're board certified, which was true.
Right. Yeah. And she got an explanation that may be good or bad. I mean, it seems reasonable, but whatever the case is, that's someone who was proactive. That's how you get around this stuff. If you go into an office and something doesn't seem right, you ask questions. And that's where you get to the bottom of this, because unethical behavior exists in every field, even in medicine. Okay. And especially if you're getting into an elective procedure that's only for money, right? Things that aren't necessary for you as a patient. Think about that. That's where some real bad stuff can happen. Good people can not be good people when it comes down to, hey, I can make a little extra money here and there.
I think the frustrating thing, though, when you hear from patients, especially, we know doctors who say they are plastic surgeons and are not.
Yeah, we know. We literally know doctors who refer themselves as plastic surgeons that are not board certified plastic surgeons.
Well, and patients will come in and say, oh, no, they are. It says it. He
on
says
their website,
it says it on. I saw him on this ad, this something saying he is board, that he's a plastic surgeon. I'm like, he is not. Is not.
Right.
But people don't. I think where this becomes a challenge is not only the financial aspect, where doctors will do a lot of things for money, but patients also don't like to question authority.
Right.
And also don't want to believe that they're.
What was that John Mellencamp song? I fight authority, and authority always wins.
Right.
Is that what?
But people don't want to. They don't like having their own personal judgment questioned, right? So if they don't look to see if they just believe, well, how could I be wrong? Like this patient actually went and looked.
Yeah.
A lot of people just won't because they really kind of don't want to know.
And they don't want to upset the doctor, and the doctors are all prideful and full of ego, especially in surgery. And then you have this weird dynamic where you're sitting in there vulnerable and you may be naked. It's like a terrible situation. So that's where you do the homework beforehand. You really, really prepare for these things and do your research. Amy and I love patients that do research. They always apologize when they come in with their legal pads. It's always younger people on their phones, but older people on the legal pads, they have all these questions. I had a patient like that today. It was 3 pages of legal pad questions. I was totally digging it. I mean, at one point I was like, are you reading research articles? Like, what's going on here?
Listening to Beauty and the Surgeon.
Listen to Beauty and the Surgeon. Listen to our podcast. I think that this is a really hard thing, and we'll get into this probably in some of the other ones, but this gets into the problem in plastic surgery. At its baseline, it's a big funnel for businesses to make money. And the way they're going to make money is they're going to say enticing things, just like everything else we're forced to deal with on Amazon or on TV and radio.
They're going to look very glitzy.
Yeah, everything's going to be oil blitzed and post-produced and everything, and that's not your reality. When you go in, you're dealing with something that's very serious. You're not buying a car or things like that. You're actually dealing with your body and your life.
Yeah, your life is at stake if you're having surgery.
Right. And this has to have a different level of acuity and awareness that is way above and beyond other incidental expenses in your life. Because technically, I don't ascribe to this feeling, but plastic surgery is kind of like a commodity, right? In your life, meaning that you don't have to do this, but you can. Amy and I, this podcast, we don't believe that. We feel like this is life-changing. This is something that's
it's life-changing, but it's not life-preserving or saving.
Exactly.
Yes.
In my mind, maybe I feel that way.
You will not die if you don't get a facelift.
I don't know, Amy. I don't know. You're dealing with my pride and ego, but I agree with you. So I think that you have to go in this with a very acerbic mind, clear-eyed, and looking at things and ask questions.
Yeah, and these things all blur together, and that's why these dark side. That's why this dark side becomes such a quagmire, because this, like you said, ethics will bleed into these other things, like your self-perception and self-esteem and all these other things.
I literally keep going back to Yoda sayings, like frustration leads to hate. Hate leads to that's exactly what you can see how an ethical person in this business that's a doctor could slip into these areas that are a little bit gray. And before you know it, they're calling themselves a plastic surgeon. Before you know it, this laser treatment they do on your face is the best thing that's ever been invented. Literally, it could cure cancer. Yep. And they're actually technically good people, but they're saying things that are unethical, right? They're not holding themselves to an ethical standard that's above and beyond other things. And the reason is because there's not a lot of checks and balances out there. That's the truth. Amy and I hold each other accountable. We do in our office. That's our brand. That's what we tell patients, and that's what we believe. But there's other places you go in, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. And it feels good. It sure feels good to go in and say, yes, you know what? You don't need a facelift. You could do this minor little procedure that's only $3,000 and your face will be magnificent. Actually, it's better than a facelift.
Yeah, I don't know that they're saying that. They're trying to get more money out of people, not less. Okay, but I think, if you want to kind of deep dive this more with us, we did a great breakdown of what different types of like aesthetic medicine doctors do and how they are certified on our New Beauty, How to Choose a Surgeon episode, which is an excellent episode to listen to. One of the things that I think really needs mentioning in all of this is not so much, okay, so you go to random doctor that's calling themselves a plastic surgeon and they do surgery on you. Are they able and equipped, and is their staff able and equipped to deal with your postoperative complications?
No.
Exactly. And I think that's where
Guess
a lot
whose
of
office they end up in? This guy with two thumbs here.
Yeah. That's what makes
every
a big
week.
Difference.
Yeah.
It's real cavalier.
That's why we know all this stuff. Because, at some point, you just start getting pissed off. We're taking care of all these problems. And you're not going to say no to that patient. You want to help them.
Well, there are times when we say we can't do anything to change this.
Yeah.
Or the fix to this is, an extremely expensive procedure that can only offer you a moderate improvement over this. I think the term botched and all of this needs to just go away. That's not it. Everybody has a piece of this pie, including the patient. And this is no patient blaming. But, when you get, and that's where the dark side comes in more when we start talking more about perception and self-esteem, you did a procedure that someone convinced you to do, told you they could do, you asked them to do, the consequences of that are on everybody at some point. The patients who think they've been botched, that's probably, there's always somewhere in the middle of all of these things. Mm-hmm. Every doctor is going to have complications at some point. Does that mean that you were botched? You can have an unexpected outcome. You could have postoperative healing issues. So getting a doctor who's going to see you through that whole process is what's really important.
Because botch, I think, infers malice.
That there was malice or that there was an inability. Now, perhaps if you went to a doctor who was not actually qualified to do this procedure, did they technically botch you? No, they did something that they shouldn't have done. But again,
they could have been really well-meaning, but it turned out terrible.
Right. And
that's a good point.
Again, were they qualified? Did you make sure they were qualified, or were you just taking their word for it? And again, this is not patient shaming under any circumstances. I really wish that the word botched would go away, because it doesn't do anybody any service.
But then who's going to get engagement on YouTube? Come on, man.
Yeah.
How are we going to have a TV show?
But unanticipated outcomes happen. Yeah. And I think that's where I feel bad for patients who have gone to a doctor who is not capable of taking care of them after surgery.
Right. The ultimate definition of ethics in plastic surgery is you take care of people that need your help. Okay. And if you
practice within your field
and even if that's something training that was caused by a surgery that you did. Mm-hmm. That is the definition of ethical behavior from my standpoint. Yep. So, charging people for elective surgeries is reasonable, right? It's a service, laying out expectations and that kind of stuff. But, if someone has an issue, you taking care of them, that's the true representation of ethical physician behavior. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we covered that. And like I said, these will all kind of bleed into each other. So let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get deeper into the dark side, the self-perception side of things.
Please put Yoda up, please, somehow. Thank you.
So, Dr. Martin, I got something super exciting to talk to you about.
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, it's actually something you and I were talking about earlier in the day, which is this awesome supplement that we've both been taking called Magic Mind.
Yeah, I actually really like it.
You want to talk about why you like it, then I'm going to talk about why I like it?
Well, I like the whole backstory. The backstory of it is what really hooked me.
So you love a good story.
Oh, yeah. So you have this entrepreneur, like a Fortune 30 under 30 person. He had this company called, I think it was Tilt, and was building up the company, working late hours, drinking tons of coffee, and was 26 years old, and then started to feel terrible, saw his internist, and then ultimately ended up in the emergency room and had something called atrial fibrillation. It's a real problem. Your heart's not beating right. Your atriums, the chambers of your heart, aren't beating correctly.
Misfiring, kind of.
Yeah. And he had to have cardioversion. This is not a HIPAA violation. This is literally he divulged this information. Afterwards, they said you can't drink any more coffee. This is a super driven guy. Do you know anybody else like that?
No.
Any type A person that likes to drink coffee? Have you ever met that person before?
No idea who you're talking about.
And so I was reading this story. I was like, oh my God, this could be me. I drink tons of coffee. It's part of my life. And what do you do when you drink tons of coffee and you're that person that's motivated? What can you substitute for that?
Well, so that's actually what got me interested in this. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, as listeners of our podcast know, and I am also doing a Best Year of Your Life challenge because it's a big year for you. And I was getting to a place where I was drinking, because I love coffee, but I was also having some pre-workout. And then I was like, ooh, like I need a little boost in the middle of the day. So I found this pre-gaming supplement that was full of nootropics and adaptogens, but it also had a ton of caffeine. So what I found with Magic Mind was that it has all those same things. It's full of matcha. It has adaptogens, which are things that kind of help your organ systems function a little bit more appropriately or in sync with themselves a little bit better. Also has the nootropics in it that I was really loving the buzz from, but it uses just caffeine from the little bit of matcha in it. So it's very low. And what I found was after my workouts, if I throw one of these back, it like kind of almost boosts the performance of the pre-workout that I had during my workout. It kind of helps it like amplify the effect a little bit. So I love it. So I am always looking for things that I can recommend to my clients that are going to be beneficial to their health. And while I love coffee, I do know that not everyone has the caffeine tolerance that I have. I'm a high metabolizer of caffeine. I can drink a lot of caffeine and not have it negatively affect me, but that's not everybody.
Sure.
And there are definitely people who can't have caffeine for whatever reason.
I mean, if you could take me as a surgeon, I drink coffee in the morning and I operate all day long. I don't want to have a 2:00 crash. I want to be able to perform from morning until night.
Yeah, which is where like your 2 p.m.
Exactly. So you could drink this in the afternoon.
Boost.
Some people will drink this in the morning. It depends on what your schedule is.
Yeah, and that is the nice part because they are not super high in caffeine, so you can drink at any time, and you get the benefits of, like I said, the adaptogens and the nootropics. Nootropics are substances that benefit the like firing of your brain chemicals essentially. Right. So they make you think smarter. Yeah. Says the girl who's deep into a prep phase.
They make your mind magical.
They
basically.
Do. Also helps with your immunity. I mean, I have just been so impressed. Right now, they are offering our listeners an amazing discount. If you sign up for the subscribe and save, you get 40% off this cool little box, which I have. I actually saved one for Nils and Sarah because they haven't tried them yet. So I like to share the love. But share the love with all of our listeners. So definitely check them out. It's an amazing company. Dr. Martin gave you the backstory, great benefits, something that a nutritional therapy practitioner can fully support and recommend.
You have a very successful guy in Silicon Valley who made something that's for people's health. I mean, come on, we got to support this. And for all of us who drink too much coffee, me included, you have an alternative now to keep you stable throughout the day. So.
Yeah. So there's a link in our description box below, 40% off if you subscribe, which I highly recommend. It's a huge savings. In fact, we can use the link. Dr. Martin, like you and I can use the link. So 40% off. Keep them in the fridge.
Is Nils using the link?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Nils is using it too.
It's like so tempting. I just want to chug this right now, but I'm not going to because it's late in the day and it's dinner time. So.
But your brain would be buzzing at night.
I know it would be. And then
let's go 24 hours a day.
So show Magic Mind some love. And hey, it's like holiday time too. So if you got some people who are on your list, you don't know what to get them, maybe a subscription to Magic Mind.
Yeah, got it.
Help their health. Help their healthy. And we're back to talk more about the dark side. The moon keeps on spinning or whatever.
Yeah.
So let's talk about expectations. And this is where I kind of finished off talking about last time that, patient's never at fault, but this was an amazing email that I got from a patient who said that they are in the Facebook group that is likely the source of swell hell, which I love. And she said that she's read many, many women are depressed in the first 1 to 2 weeks post-operatively, mostly tummy tucks, lipo, and or breast augmentation. So this is probably a mommy makeover type of group. Some even have strong feelings of regret during this period. Do you know why this is? This is all of the dark sides, right?
Well, number one, I could start with the pragmatic medical reason, opioids.
Right.
Okay. So
they depress your,
yeah.
They are depressants.
Yeah. Everyone thinks that they can medicate away everything. And by the way, when you take opioids, it disturbs your balance in your brain. Yeah. The neurotransmitters.
That's where they act on.
Literally leads to depression because you have technically withdrawal. And so that's the time. And the surgeries we listed, mommy makeovers, tummy tucks, liposuction, breast augs are the painful surgeries. Those tend to be younger people, so they need to medicate themselves to get through the day because they got children and stress and all these kind of things. And they're not capable for good reason. Like we support them on doing some of these alternatives. So they just want to take the medication and go to sleep. And that has a real consequence. This is the reason why Amy and I are, especially lately, have been proactive about getting people off of opioids as quickly as possible and trying to find alternative treatments. So that's the first reason, but I think you're going to get to something that's a little more layered and probably more important than that.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously the medical reason. You know, you're
leave it to the doctor to talk about the medical
You're taking
reason.
Medications potentially that depress your sensorium and are depressants, really. So that is one definite reason. This gets deep. You know, there are a lot of reasons why people feel this way after surgery. The number one thing is, this is what I always remind people, like just because you chose to have this surgery doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. You know, people get into this place where like, oh, well, I chose this, that I should somehow have to suffer or deal with excess pain because I chose to have this surgery. Like, that's not realistic. Also, trying to pretend like you're not in pain because you chose this. It's like trying to pretend like you're not sick. Right.
I did that in Portugal. It didn't work out well.
It doesn't work. Yeah. Like, you know, accepting that like.
At one point I was on a steps and I couldn't breathe. And my daughter was like, you're sick. You've never been like this before.
Yeah. Like, go home. You're sick.
I was like, I'm not sick. Don't tell your mom.
But people who are, you know, when you're in pain, it's you feel regret, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. At some point in your, you know, logical mind, you know that pain will go away. But when you're kind of in it, you kind of feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in pain forever. I've, you know, done something terrible. Well, then that starts to spiral, right?
Yeah.
Then you start looking, oh my gosh, I'm swollen. I look like a freak. I'm bruised. Like, look at this.
I'm never going to look good again.
Never going to look
husband's
normal.
Never going to think I look normal.
Yeah. Like I've made a huge mistake. You know, if you had a breast dog, your breast might be really swollen. You're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I wanted. Or you don't think they're big enough. Like all the things in your mind just start really spiraling from there. But I think a lot of it does get triggered by pain is the number one. Mm-hmm. I think another big cause of this same spiral, it goes the same direction, is expectations. You expect that you're going to wake up from surgery and look like a different person, or you're going to feel like a different person.
Your whole life's going to be different.
And all you do when you wake up from surgery is you feel pain.
And your life's not any different.
No. Your kids are still running around.
And then you go home and everyone still annoys you.
Right. You still get stuck in traffic on your way back from the hospital. Like the expectations that you've built up in your mind because you wanted this so badly. I mean, especially something like a mommy makeover, like this is a big deal. Like you've probably spent a lot of money on it. You expect to look X after day one. And that when that doesn't happen, then like I said, then the spiral starts. Oh my gosh, I'm in pain. Oh, this hurts. I look terrible. I am bruised. I am scarred. I cut myself open. Oh, this is horrific. You know, that takes you to the same place. I think specifically with breast augmentation, we talk about this in our episode from several years ago now, if plastic surgery makes you happy. Breast augmentation is kind of its own subset of this because a lot of women have breast augmentation and put, again, expectation on it that it will change their life in a very specific type of way. Sometimes it does, but sometimes all that male attention that you think you're going to get, maybe you don't want or you don't get. And then you regret it. Oh, well, I did this really expensive surgery. I spent all this money. I was in pain.
Or you divorced the person you were with, and now you're with someone
else.
Or
you find out they were cheating on you this whole time, and they could care less about the size of your boobs. Well, now
Which, by the way, like we inevitably try not to talk about this stuff, but it all comes out, and you realize that we all have the same human condition, right? Is struggling through life a little bit, trying to find things that make you happy, trying to find things that define you, being on a path that's positive, and that's a messy, messy job, and the idea of elective surgery to make your body better can get extrapolated into making your life better. Mm-hmm. And that is human nature. It's okay that people do this. We try really hard to explain that that's not the case. This is not what we're doing. We're checking a box. We're doing one thing out of many to make your life a little bit better, but you have to do some other things. Work up here, work on this, work on your body, work on your nutrition, work on your relationships.
Well, maybe you don't need work on any of those things. It still doesn't mean that plastic surgery is going to change your life.
I hate people like that. Like, come on, please. Yeah. We all need to work a little bit. My mom said that. She's like, everything's great. I'm like, that's not appropriate. Do I got a little hair in there?
Yeah. Fuzz. It's just a little fuzz.
I was like, that's not appropriate. That's not real life. But
no, but I'm not. I mean, what I'm saying by that is like, not everybody needs to like get their life in gear before they have surgery.
Right,
like that's not it at all. Like, and that has nothing to do with feeling regret. Honestly.
Yeah.
But these things don't last forever. And like she said, it's that they're depressed in the first couple of weeks. I mean, you think about any big event in your life, there is post everything blues, right? You get post baby blues. Like people come down. We talked about the hedonic treadmill in our episodes on happiness. Like you get so much built up. And also the other thing that you get right after surgery and just like after having a baby, like there's a lot of really positive, those first few days, like you're kind of amped, right? You got all this adrenaline going through your body. Your body's trying to heal. Like you don't even really realize what's happened. And then all of a sudden it hits you like a brick wall.
The wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like around day 3, day 4. Like that's when it hits.
So that happiness episode was so good. Actually, Nils can show that here too. But that happiness episode, sorry about that. We talked about Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Do you remember that University of Chicago professor? And he talked about happiness and money. And it was so interesting. He said it's only like 2.5 times poverty level. So at that time, it was like $70,000. Above that, above $70,000 a year of income, the happiness doesn't change. And that's just so crazy to think about that, because we all in an American life are striving to make money, to have benefits of extra money around, and all the things that come along with that. But
but at some point they don't, because once your needs are truly met,
exactly,
more money is not going to make you have a better sense of your needs being met.
And so we're getting to the main point, is that plastic surgery is not a need. Okay. And when you have expectations on something like plastic surgery, they should be really focused in on exactly what you're doing. You're going to take your breast and make it this much better. You're going to make the contour that much better. You're going to make the contour of the belly that much better. And the butterfly effect of that is great, but that's not guaranteed, right? So you have one job, a very definitive job, focused job, to make these things better, whatever we're doing that day.
Well, and even when you have a very ethical surgeon,
it sucks.
Says things to you like,
it'd be a lot easier if I wasn't.
Well, no, but we had a patient this morning, who we can make their abdomen flat, but we're never going to make it concave. And even though you say it to them,
she wasn't listening.
Repeatedly in their mind, they think they're going to wake up from surgery with an hourglass figure.
And I told her straight up, no. Yeah. And that was hard. That was a hard conversation.
That's just my point is we say that. Like other offices may not say that. So you don't, like, the expectation in your mind, maybe it's not like it's somebody's fault. Like we all have this expectation. So that's where, talking to your surgeon, like maybe even show them a picture. Like, is this expectation realistic for this surgery?
Yeah, that's good.
I honestly wish more people would do that, because the times when people send me pictures and will ask, especially like with breast augmentation sizing, when I have encouraged them to do a certain size and they're like, oh, that's way too big. And then they send me a picture of a woman. I'm like, to get that, we could go even bigger.
Yeah.
Like we could go way bigger than what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because we have this expectation and then we're trying to project it from someone else back onto ourselves. Reverse projection here. Finding out from your surgeon, is this what I should expect? And if they say yes, well, great. If they say no, this is what you should expect, try to listen in a way that is, hopefully they're saying it in an empathic way.
Yeah.
We want people to have expectations and we want to exceed them. We don't want it to be the other way around. We want people to have this expectation that they're going to wake up from surgery with a 21-inch waist and 30-inch, that's not we don't want to have that conversation with somebody after the fact.
Yeah.
We have it up front. This is the expectation.
I think one of the biggest signs of compassion in all of life is honesty. I really do. And honesty can be very difficult sometimes. Especially here, because think about it. So just everyone put themselves in Amy and I's position. All right. So you come in, this wonderful, normal person sitting in front of you, kind of tearful, is struggling and really wants a change in their life. And you have the tools to change things. It's
physical things.
It'd be very easy just to console them, like not even in a malicious, weird way, and say, I got this. I'm going to take care of you. Everything's going to be okay. I do that with my kids, right? And you have to have self-control and pull back from that and not do that, and actually try to go the other direction and say, let's just really scope this in. Let's just really kind of bring this discussion back to exactly what we're here for. And sometimes that can feel like you're failing, right? Like it's in a weird position, like you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and the person's looking at you like, well, this kind of sucks a little bit, But we have found when you do that, when you educate people and empower them and stuff, that their expectations are then scoped in, and then they're super happy with the results.
Yes.
Right? They weren't sold a bill of goods.
No, they expected to be in pain. They expected swell hell.
Right.
They expected to look a little weird.
They expected the first 2 weeks to feel like absolute crap.
Yes.
And it's okay if you're depressed. And you know what? If you're crying, call Amy up. She has emotional intelligence. Don't call me. I'm terrible in those positions. I'll just give you the same talk I give everyone. We're climbing the Himalayas. Come on. Suck it up. Put the oxygen on. Whereas Amy can actually talk to you about human emotions. So that's good. But that's part of it. And the expectations game, actually, if you're good at surgery, is plastic surgery defined. If you can scope in eloquently and compassionately the expectations for surgery and the patients understand, every patient's going to be happy as long as you do good surgery. And doing good surgery is actually the easiest part of this whole process.
For a good surgeon.
Well, no, for competent people. Yeah. I mean, like the surgery part
That's the easy part.
is my least concern of my work.
Yeah.
I know that sounds nuts, but like when I'm in surgery, I control all the details. And I'm in this cocoon, this incubator doing my work, and everyone get out of my way. And people come in, I'm like, you can't come in my room. Like I have total control. And then I get out, I have no control.
Well, you don't.
And then I go to Costco and I'm absolutely angry. Like, why am I so angry right now? Because I have no control of anything that's going on. So, by the way, if you're a very OCD type A person, young, listening to this podcast, the best thing to go into is surgery, right?
Oh, you mean as a profession?
It's a profession.
I thought you were talking about
use all your
Costco still.
negative
Like,
personality traits.
yeah, like don't go to Costco. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, expectations is big here, but just remember, like, pain can also make you have feelings of regret because you regret now that you are in pain, and that's transient. That's going to pass. Your swell hell will go away eventually. Might take a while.
A lot of people feel this way. This is a big part of the dark side of plastic surgery. This is not uncommon.
Yep. And we preempt this, and I copy and pasted to this patient in return what we send our patients. It's called Healing Body and Mind.
See,
not many people read it.
Yeah.
But it's a blurb that basically says like, yeah, like you're going to have feelings of like, probably what did I do? Friends and family may not react to you the way that you expect, good and bad, if if your expectation is I might have some of these feelings, kind of like when you have a baby, like all women have heard of someone who had postpartum depression, like you know that that's a possibility. So knowing that these things are a possibility, again, just helps manage your expectations. And if you have your whole life struggled with really heavy legs and you get a little bit of lipo and expect to come out looking like a supermodel, that expectation may not be met. Like talk to your surgeon about your expectations also, and that will help.
I feel like supermodels are kind of a hot mess. I don't want to be a supermodel. Do you?
I don't want to be one, but a lot of our patients want their legs.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I wouldn't want their lives. It seems like very extra. I would not want any part of that. Everywhere you go, it's like, always have to look good. I mean, no, it's anonymity, man. That's
if you're a model, you just look good. You don't have to try.
I know,
you just do.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Okay. All right. So now that we've talked about ethics and expectations, now we're really going to get into the dark side of plastic surgery. This is where where the serious Yoda conversation. This is where like literally the bubbling mud pit of plastic surgery is in self-perception and social influence. No. Because these two things.
Why would you even bring this up?
These two things can be used to manipulate to an extreme degree. I think at this point, most people probably saw the Netflix movie, the social something. What was that called? The social
dilemma.
Social dilemma.
Oh, yes.
Right? So if anyone is under the delusion that there is no such thing as social influence, go watch the social dilemma and you will see just how much your ability to control your own thoughts on social media is not what you think it is. Yeah, social media basically controls our thoughts.
Yeah, it's like dopamine caveman brain. That's where everything goes ultimately.
And what does that do? Feeds right back into
your self-perception.
Yeah. So these two things together are probably the most powerful combination of what makes the dark side of plastic surgery or cosmetic medicine exist. Beauty standards and trends, filters. What you see is not what you think. Selfie culture. See beauty standards and trends and filters. These things all like, right? These are if Nils was like build me like a little like crazy, box. Yep. And then the one that like
that's the MC Escher stare.
Yeah. The one that literally like explodes the entire scale is FOMO, fear of missing out, or fear of what others have is really what it is. Because you know how many times people come in here like, oh, all my friends look this way. No one I know has this issue.
Yeah. No one has cellulite.
Right. No one I know has cellulite. No mom I know needed a tummy tuck.
Like everybody has cellulite. Yes. Every woman has cellulite. Literally everyone.
Yes. Go to a bodybuilding show. These women have less than 10% body fat. They have cellulite.
Yeah.
So these things, these four things, I mean, I would say trifecta, the quadfecta. The quadfecta of your self-perception is being managed by social influence, beauty standards and trends, filters, which is just basically nothing we see is real, selfie culture, nothing we see is real, and you think that everybody else has more than you.
So apply all these dark arts.
Back to ethics.
Yeah, apply all these dark arts to a field that's purely based on how you look. Okay? all the stuff that she just talked about.
Self-pay, dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah. And then you end up with the absolute worst situation, no demand. Okay. Literally, I don't know if there's anything worse besides, I don't know. So it is a terrible,
this is the dark side.
Yeah, a terrible situation. I was working with a CRNA the other day, really nice, comes from a, kind of a family background, family environment.
It's a certified nurse anesthetist.
Yeah. Really sweet, very competent. And she was telling me, I really like this surgeon. I was like, oh, that's great. That's great. Like, you work with him. She goes, yeah, I follow him on TikTok. And I was like, well, show me some of the things on TikTok. It's basically him dancing around with young people. It was obscene. And there was no parts of there about the surgery. He's dancing around with young people. He's older. If you took that out of context, you would say this is weird, right? But we've gotten into a culture now where things visually look good and it's drawing you in. It has good music. It's a quick video, 30 seconds, right? You're drawn in. And this guy must be really good. There is no basis on anything you're seeing that you know someone's good or not. Absolutely none. Everything can be manipulated or molded. Yeah.
Before and after pictures.
Everything can. There is nothing that is truly transparent out there. And we try really hard on this podcast, on our YouTube channel, to be honest and straightforward, but that's coming from our perception, right? And that's a little bit manipulated because it's edited, and I edit things, or Nils edit things. Sarah puts stuff on there, but
let's hope there's a filter on this video.
Yeah.
No filter, just a lot of
good filters.
Just good
lighting. You're showing me the way I am.
Yeah,
oh my god,
just good lighting.
I want everyone to think I'm 30.
Still, I'll take the good lighting.
The reality of it is that creates a real quagmire, and people, a high majority of people get stuck in, especially younger people that are more on social channels. The older people, less so, but then they even get stuck in. I get people coming in showing me stuff off the internet that are 60 and 70, and they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, that's totally fake. Like, literally, this is not reality. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what are you talking about? And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, well, I do this for a living, and this is absolutely not true. And by the way, that person is like not good. So it's nothing wrong with going on social media. Everyone, a part of this podcast, enjoys social media. We like social media. We utilize it for our practice.
Has great benefits.
It has great benefits. It's this podcast, this YouTube channel has connected us with people all over the world. Mm-hmm. And that is something that Amy and I hold very dear to our hearts. It's one of the greatest things we ever did in our entire careers, is this crazy little podcast that we did. That's hilariously funny when you think about the fact of the other side of that. Is that how the same thing that draws people in for education and all this, this information that we're giving you can draw people in a negative, dark way and coerce them into doing things that are absolutely untrue.
But that's also why we have never done an episode breaking down somebody's bad plastic surgery. I mean, we touched on it a little bit when we talked about, the age order, the preferential order of aging.
I did talk about Kenny Rogers, and rest in peace, he died recently. So I felt bad about that in one of our episodes.
Yeah, but we're not using it as like clickbait, right. And we talk about things like why people end up looking kind of weird. And we're not targeting a specific person, but you do see this, right? Then you see stuff on social media, like, wow, what happened to them? Are you just seeing them for the first time without a filter? Maybe, but people do stuff, and then you think like, well, this person's, rich and famous. Like, how could they be the one that looks weird? It's because ethics leads people down a road where they are feeding into your own self-worth and your self-perception and telling you like, oh, sure, I'll do that, when other doctors probably told you no.
So think about it. If you're going to run a business, and let's not say it's plastic surgery, let's say it's food related, okay? And everyone is hungry. You're just going to put out images of food and say, all you have to do is come over here and spend money with me and you get to eat. That's basically what they're doing.
The grocery store is pumping that bakery smell all the way through the store.
So that's exactly what people are doing with social media.
Pumping you full of bakery smell.
They're making you feel bad about yourself because of the images they're putting out. Mm-hmm. They're making you feel like you're missing out on whatever the hell everyone else is doing.
Well, they aren't even the ones. It's social media that's making you feel that way.
Then to like rub salt in your wounds, they're not only making you feel bad about yourself, they're making you feel like a bad person, like legitimately, not about like you physically, but like obviously there's something
bad.
There's something deficient
or
in you.
Gross.
Like you can't put this much muscle on. Your breasts don't look good. You had 3 babies and your breasts are saggy. You're disgusting.
Like, gross. Cellulite,
kind of
nasty.
How could you do this? How could you live like this?
Right.
And then you get into the office and they treat you like very nurturing and they're telling you they're going to fix everything and we're going to make your life better.
0%, interest financing.
Oh, by the way, if you decide this kid's fit for it, we'll put you on one of our TikToks and I'll dance around with you after you're done your surgery.
We'll dance with you. We're gonna offer you some type of pretty aggressive financing offering.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of ways that.
Yeah.
And again, is it really their fault? I mean, is it really Costco's fault that they put the pizza smell right at when everybody's leaving and they got a screaming kid and they just had to deal with the stress of being in Costco?
Can we just talk about this real quick? I have never eaten the food at Costco.
The Costco?
Ever.
I've had the soft serve.
Have you?
No, but here the hot dogs are the rage.
Legendary.
Everyone talks about the hot dogs. They talk about the pizza.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. And not that I'm averse to that. I grew up in Kentucky. I mean, Costco food. I mean, are you kidding me? This is like our Thanksgiving. So I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I've had the soft serve, but that's because I like froyo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think what it is for our types of personalities is I don't go to Costco to linger. That's more it. Like
we go in. It's a surgical strike.
I have a list. I'm not leaving with a canoe.
We know exactly what we're getting, Amy. Toilet paper, right? How do you say it? That word?
Actually, I don't get the toilet paper at Costco because I use bamboo toilet paper.
Okay, we were green. Okay, paper towel.
I don't use paper towels. I actually haven't bought paper towels in like over a decade.
Laundry detergent.
No, because I have really sensitive skins and I can't use the Tide
that
they sell.
Such a princess. Okay. What do you get there? Like, what do you get?
I buy cauliflower rice. I buy frozen blueberries. Yep. And I get the liquid egg whites. That's what I buy now. And almond butter sometimes.
Yes.
Yep. And supplements and a contact lens solution. Chicken.
Dog treats are actually really good there.
Yeah. Sauerkraut.
Yeah.
The raw sauerkraut.
Dog treats are cheap.
People are like, why am I listening to this podcast? Like, I just got Amy's grocery shopping list. So
I think we could probably do a whole nother podcast on shopping and.
Oh, we totally could.
Yeah.
Like as a side gig?
Yes.
Yeah, we're throwing some 90s hip hop and we got a side gig right there. Maybe some movies. But my point to the Costco pizza conversation was that, it's not like this is the perfect storm. You have people, because we all have our own struggles, who are dealing with something. And you have doctors, let's hope they're actual doctors, medical doctors, let's start there, who see that there are people struggling. And they maybe start out really well-meaning, like, oh, I could, help these people.
Let's see, I could go be a learned person and also help people. Great, check. I'm a good person.
Like I could get paid $12 from Medicare for lancing this boil off of someone.
Or I could get paid $1,200 to inject Botox and it just took me 3 minutes.
Right, like, ooh. Yep, and there we go.
And everyone else is calling themselves a plastic surgeon.
Right? There's the filters.
And all I need to do is do a TikTok channel of me dancing around with young women.
And the money's just
still not sure the optics on that.
We've already learned that your TikTok usage is real weird. So
I'm just referencing what the TikTok thing I saw. Anyways. And then you can see where this thing becomes very dark. And then it only gets worse from there.
Yeah, it feeds into itself.
So think about this. So people fly to Miami to the BBL expert, and those are all glorified internet kind of like social media channel feeds and everything like that. And then they fly down there and they have no assurances. They're flying in. They have, if you have a problem and you're at home, they don't care. Yeah, they ghost you. And that is repeated over and over and over in this field. So I would say that most people that do this stuff, plastic surgeons are ethical people and they're not this way. But there's a subset. Board
certified plastic surgeons.
There's a subset that board certified or not, that absolutely use this to their advantage.
100%.
Yeah. Because I could just as easily, when I'm in a room, is say to someone, look them in the eyes and say, I'm going to make your life better, period. And I could say it with confidence and they're going to believe it and they're going to do whatever I tell them to do because they want to feel better.
I mean, but the flip side of that is we do say to people, and I do all the time, I get super excited for our patients. Like, this is going to be great. Like, you are going to have an amazing outcome. And I can say that because we've talked to them about the expectations, what they can expect from their outcome. That part of it is real. We can say to patients, you are an excellent candidate for this procedure. Here's what you can expect.
Right.
There are times when we do say to someone, you are not a great candidate for this procedure, and this is why. Now, we say that, and they might hear that, but then all these things start filtering back in. Here comes the selfie culture, here comes the FOMO, and they go find some other doctor who's claiming that the liposuction that they do is going to take the place of the tummy tuck that we told them they need.
Yeah.
And then they have then the expectation, then they think they're botched. Then, all these things go back into social influence and self-perception, and people get in the shame spiral. So the dark side of plastic surgery that includes these 3/4 things is dark, right? It is. And we try to, rise above it, but we are also part of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
weird to be a lighthouse and your foundation's a little bit shaky.
Like we are not going to claim we're not part of this.
No, I know. The algorithms are basically destroying this country. Okay. So there's so much social unrest. People feel so uncomfortable, polarization, tribalization, and people are struggling. I had family members through COVID struggle with depression and anxiety, and it creates a real terrible feeling as almost like our zeitgeist in this country. And then people are going to be searching to feel better. And how better to feel better when you see images that look good.
Like, there we go.
Right.
And they're offering $99 down.
Yeah, yeah. And they're dancing around. And everything's just so peachy. And it's awesome. Because you know what? Every time it's like Willy Wonka. Every time they go to work, they're dancing. Everyone's dancing. We all dance. It's like one of those 60s,
we do dance.
Movies, where everyone's dancing and happy. And the reality is not that. So
what was that saying that Ginger Rogers danced backwards in heels?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there we go. So Dr. Martin dances, but I'm back here dancing backwards in heels.
But social media, the internet, all this stuff has a real positive thing. It can connect you with people like us, connect you with people that have the same thought process. It can bring communities together. It's this duality. It's both sides of the coin. Don't let yourself fall into all this other stuff down here. Be an informed consumer, and that's the most important thing. And it's okay to look at images and like those and feel good about that. It's okay to find things entertaining and stuff like that, but that's an entertainment, okay? That's not your body. That's not an outcome. That's not a surgery. That's not money. I mean, you're talking about your actual money that you're spending, right? So be aware of what's going on. And it's hard. I fall into it too. Amy always makes fun of my algorithm. It's all animals and weird stuff, right? Clearly, I love animal videos.
I mean, I do have the Macarena chickens that show up on my TikTok all the time, and I freaking love it. Yeah. I don't even know where this guy is, but these chickens, I love it.
So my wife has the best Instagram feed. It's all memes, and it's all meme videos, and it's very funny. She has this one cat
She doesn't
meme.
even have a profile picture. No. I'm surprised she gets
She has this cat meme that's the same cat meme over and over, just with captions underneath, It's this cat and a cat giving side eye. It's the captions are so good. And I love her. I wish I had her feed because they're really, honestly, really funny.
Mine are all bodybuilders.
Yeah.
But something else I do want to say, we've talked a lot about the dark side of plastic surgery, right? Go back and listen to our episodes if you're so inclined about happiness, because the one thing that you will find, and this is what we find, when you have patients who have normal expectations and are well informed, they are overwhelmingly happy. Because of two things. They have surgery that they've wanted for a really long time. It was great. They move on with their life. They don't even think about it anymore. I think a great example is a patient who had liposuction on her saddlebags when she was in her late 20s and was like, oh my gosh, if I had known this was a thing when I was 19, I would have done anything I could to save the money, because now that it's gone. I don't have to think about it anymore. Perfect example of somebody who had a problem, plastic surgery fixed it, their life goes on. They literally don't even think about it anymore.
It's a very clean transaction.
It just goes away.
That way. I love that.
Yeah.
That's the purity of it. I saw a patient today, had problems with her eyelids, upper, lower brow, fixed everything. She said to me, she hugged me, she said, "You made my life better. Thank you."
Yeah. And
she meant it.
Yes.
And it wasn't hey, you solved all my problems. She's like, you made my life a little bit better. And that is the good side. Because she did not fall down this trap here, right? She didn't fall down this trap of being something else, not being herself, making her life better. She had issues that she wanted solved. We solved them, and she was very happy about it. And she's ready to move on.
Exactly. Yeah. Or people that we fix something, that they didn't even know it could be fixed. That happens too. Sometimes people will come in thinking one thing.
Last week, his eyelids were heavy. It's the same old story every single time. I did his eyelids in the office under local anesthesia, and he was awake. When he got done, he's like, I could actually see. He's like, he was like, why did I wait? Mm-hmm. And he's sitting, literally, he was in our room here. He was awake the whole time when I did the surgery with local anesthesia. And he's opening his eyes like this. He's like, I could see everything. It was almost like he was blind and now he could see.
Yeah. So there are amazing benefits and positives and really good things with plastic surgery. But the dark side does exist, and that's why we felt like we need to talk about it today. because I think people don't really understand the complexity of why there is a dark side of plastic surgery. It's not just terrible surgeons. It's not just, it's so many things.
I think a big part of it is you follow the money. That's really what it comes down to. And that's like this with most things in our life. If you follow the money, it's kind of end up in some dark area at some point.
Cash rules everything around me.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Cream, get the money.
Yeah, Wu-Tang.
All right.
Wu-Tang is for the children.
So while we Wu-Tang it out, Wu-Tang is for the children. I seriously feel like I'm like a Saturday Night Live skit when like we do like a reference like Wu-Tang, and then I'm like, okay, kids.
I literally was telling a fellow about ODB, right? Wu-Tang is for the children. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't really know.
He didn't know.
And I was like, dude, you need to
ask your parents.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we're old. So on that happy note, thank you all so much for listening today. And it was our final episode of Spooky Month. So next month I'm going to do a little bit of like, what do they call that? Like housekeeping. So just to let everybody know what the rest of the year is going to look like for Beauty and the Surgeon podcast. If you've made it this far, I super appreciate you listening. Like unbelievably, if somebody made it this far, throw us a pulley emoji. If you know, you know. So in November, we're all about the thighs. So white meat or dark meat, for us, it's the thighs. We're going to be talking about...
Oh, now I get that.
Yeah. Turkey.
I did.
Turkey. Here comes
I'm so far behind.
Turkey, run across the big turkey leg. So we are doing thigh lift. I know
it's a thigh month.
It's thigh month. So
it's National Thigh Month.
Yep. So we've got a two-parter on thigh lift, everything you need to know about thigh lift. And then very special episode, December 1st, we're going to be recapping Best Year of Your Life Challenge. And then it's the top 5, which is my favorite episode of the year.
Love it.
And then the year's over. So you got 8 weeks left, people. Like, make it count. 10 weeks at this point. It's the 15th. So please follow us on all social media, where we will try not to lead you down the dark hole of the dark side of plastic surgery, just the good stuff.
We're the light side.
We are the light side. So at Jason Martin MD, you can also find us everywhere at Beauty
I
and the
think I
Surgeon
just
podcast.
need to do a dancing post just to spite everyone.
No.
But no
need for that. If you would like to leave us a voicemail, I do love voicemails. I also like questions, as you saw via the email. You can find my email address in the link below. You can also find the link below to plasticsurgery.org, where you can find out if your surgeon is board certified. Please click that link before you go see a doctor. Our phone number is 303-630-9038. I probably said that right. Dr. Martin, you got to wrap up?
No, it's good. I think that if you just listen to what Yoda says, anyone can go to the dark side, right? So the way that you counteract that as a patient is education, empowerment, and research. And if you're dubious, you're probably right. So if you have a gut feeling about something, follow your gut and listen. And remember that what we do is very contained and scoped, but it is awesome at the same time. Amy and I are truly blessed people that have some of the best jobs in America, literally. But we're not going to change your life. We're going to change one small thing that may be helpful for your life. We're not going to change your life.
Right. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.